The alarms inside Falcon Base always sounded the same, cold, metallic, indifferent to the panic they created, but that morning, the shrill echo felt different. It cut through the hangar like a razor, slicing into the heart of every pilot preparing for the day's exercises. The sky outside was unusually heavy with clouds, as if nature itself sensed something brewing. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension, but no one felt it more than Captain Erez Malik, the decorated officer whose sharp eyes missed nothing, except her. She had arrived quietly, almost like a shadow slipping into a world not built to welcome her. Lieutenant Zara Halim, small in frame but fierce in spirit, walked into the hangar with the humility of a newcomer and the posture of someone who had fought far too many invisible wars long before stepping onto a military base. Her uniform was crisp, her file spotless, her training record exceptional, yet the conversations around her always sounded the same: she won't last. She's not one of us. She doesn't belong here. It wasn't her skills they doubted, it was her presence. Captain Erez saw her the moment she entered, and something within him hardened instantly. To him, the hangar was sacred ground, a battlefield for the elite, a place won by sweat and sacrifice. He believed outsiders diluted the grit of the unit. And though Zara had earned her place more than most, Erez had already decided she didn't fit the mold. Without letting her even approach the aircraft assigned to her, he ordered her to step out. The command hit her with the force of a slap. She froze only for a second before swallowing the sting, lowering her gaze, and turning away. The weight in her chest that day was heavier than any jet she would ever fly. Yet what no one knew, not Erez, not the pilots who snickered behind her back, not the officers who questioned her every breath, was that Zara's journey to that hangar had been carved from the harshest corners of life. She had grown up watching fighter jets carve the sky in a way that filled her with awe and longing. Her father, a humble technician, used to lift her onto his shoulders to give her a closer look at each takeoff. He would whisper that true courage wasn't loud or boastful, it was quiet, stubborn, and relentless. After he passed away during a rescue mission gone wrong, Zara made a silent promise to continue what he started, not just by working on jets, but by flying them. But grief had claws. It dragged her through nights of self-doubt and days of feeling unseen. She battled her way through flight school, pushed through the pain of losing people who believed in her, stood unshaken through storms that would have broken someone with even twice her strength. Yet here she was, facing another wall built by someone who didn't know her story, someone who refused to see the fighter she really was. Her first week at Falcon Base became an exhausting test of resilience. She was given the oldest jet for practice, the hardest simulation schedules, and the coldest treatment from her squadron. But every night, long after others had gone, she stayed in the hangar, running her fingers along the worn metal of her aircraft, whispering silent promises that she would prove she belonged. The jet, call sign Phoenix, became her companion, her solace, her reminder that rebirth always followed fire. Then came the morning the Real test arrived. A communication blackout was reported over the northern border. Unknown aircraft were detected near restricted airspace, moving unpredictably. The situation was classified as a high-level threat, and a squadron was ordered to scramble immediately. Captain Erez took command of the operation, assigning roles with precision and calculation. He didn't include Zara. In his mind, she wasn't ready. In reality, no one had ever been readier. But fate has a way of tearing down walls exactly when they need to fall. As the jets roared to life and the pilots prepared for takeoff, the base control screens flickered. Erez frowned and looked up at the main monitor. A new signal appeared, unexpected, unidentified. A jet was powering up on the far side of the hangar. He rushed toward the runway windows, anger rising like a storm inside him, only to stop dead in his tracks. The call sign flashing on the screen was one he knew. One he had dismissed. One he had rejected. PHX-01, Phoenix. Zara's jet. His breath caught. For the first time, the unshakable Captain Erez Malik felt something unfamiliar: fear. Not of the mission, not of the threat, but of the realization that he had underestimated someone whose courage was now burning brighter than every jet in the sky. Before he could reach the far hangar, Phoenix shot out onto the runway with a force that ripped through the morning air. Zara lifted off with flawless precision, rising like the very creature her jet was named after. Erez felt a sting of disbelief, frustration, and something deeper, guilt, as he watched her vanish into the sky. Up in the clouds, Zara wasn't thinking about him or the pilots who doubted her. She was thinking of her father, of every years-long battle she had fought alone, of the sky that always felt like home, even when the world below refused to make space for her. The threat ahead was real, two unidentified jets moving closer to restricted territory, but she flew with the steady heartbeat of someone who'd been training for this moment all her life. The operation became chaos. Communications crackled. Radar signals blurred. The squadron attempted formation, but interference kept breaking their strategy apart. In the confusion, Phoenix broke through cleanly, taking a high-angle approach no one else had even considered. Her maneuver created the opening the rest desperately needed. The unknown jets shifted course, confused, then began retreating under the pressure of the newly aligned formation. Down in the control room, every pair of eyes was locked on one screen, Phoenix's. She didn't just hold her own. She led. When the threat cleared, when radar showed safe skies once more, when the squadron began its descent toward home, a silence settled across the base so heavy, so thick, that even the hum of the generators felt muted. Erez stood there, staring at the call sign that moments earlier he tried to erase from his unit. He had ordered her out of the hangar. Now she had saved them all. When Phoenix touched down, rolling gracefully onto the runway, the personnel who had once watched her with skepticism now watched with awe. The hangar doors opened slowly, and Zara stepped out of her jet with trembling legs, not from fear, but from the weight of finally proving what she had always known she could be. Captain Erez approached her, not with authority, not with pride, but with a humility few had ever seen from him. The man who once doubted her now carried an expression of deep respect, perhaps even remorse. Around them, the air felt different, warmer, softer, filled with something that had been missing since the day she arrived. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. Her flight had spoken for her. Her courage had rewritten every judgment made against her. And in that moment, she stood not as the girl ordered out of the hangar, but as the pilot who rose from ashes and lit the sky on fire. Hours later, long after the mission debrief ended and the sun dipped low beyond the hills, Zara walked alone between the quieted jets. She ran her hand once again along Phoenix's metallic surface, feeling a trembling mixture of exhaustion and pride. She had come here searching for belonging, and she had earned it with every beat of her wings. Captain Erez watched her from a distance, knowing that leadership wasn't just about commanding others, it was about recognizing greatness, even when it arrived in forms you weren't prepared to accept. And as he saw her silhouetted against the fading orange sky, he understood that she had changed not just the fate of the mission, but the future of the squadron. Her father had been right. True courage wasn't loud. It was quiet. It was stubborn. And it was standing right there in front of him. And the sky, for the first time in a long time, felt wide enough for all of them. If this story touched your heart, please support the video. Your engagement helps us bring more powerful stories to life. Backhand index pointing right special request to comment. Tell us what part of this story moved you the most, and we'll feature some of your thoughts in the next video.